All right, let's dive in. Today, we're breaking down what can be one of the most stressful decisions you'll ever have to make, finding the right personal injury lawyer after an accident in Arlington, Texas. It can feel like a maze, but we're going to make it crystal clear for you. So picture this. 1 minute, you're just driving down a road like I-20 or 360, and in the blink of an eye, your whole world is turned upside down. In that chaos, right after a crash, it's almost impossible to know what to do first. You're hurt, you're probably confused, and the pressure is on immediately. Okay, so to help you navigate all this, we've put together a clear roadmap. First, we'll talk about the immediate aftermath. Then, we'll get into the one Texas law you absolutely have to know. After that, we'll walk through a checklist for finding the perfect lawyer. We'll pull back the curtain on the insurance company's playbook. And finally, we'll help you make that final decision.
So let's start right at the scene with that overwhelming feeling right after the crash. An accident in a big, busy place like Arlington isn't just an accident. You're dealing with it in this super high-stress, fast-paced world, and it just adds to the confusion.
And you've got to remember, the recovery isn't just about your body healing. All of a sudden, you're staring down a mountain of medical bills, you're missing time from work, and you're up against a legal system that feels totally intimidating. It's really like fighting a battle on two fronts, and you've got to be ready for both. And that's a perfect lead-in to our next section, understanding Texas law. Because there is one single rule here that can literally make or break your entire case. Okay, it's a mouthful, but it's called modified comparative negligence. Now, it sounds really complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. The law in Texas assigns a percentage of blame to every single person involved in an accident, and that percentage is what controls who gets paid and how much they get paid. And it all comes down to one magic number, 51%. In Texas, this is what they call the bar to recovery. It means if a court decides you are 51% or more to blame for that accident, you are legally blocked from getting a single dollar. You get nothing, zero. So proving the other driver was the one mostly at fault, it isn't just a detail, it's everything. So knowing that, how do you find someone who can fight to keep you under that 51% bar? Well, that brings us right to Section 3, the lawyer checklist. Think of this as your practical guide to finding your strongest possible ally. We're going to break this down into 4 key things you need to look for. We're talking about local experience, a track record with your specific type of case, real negotiation skills, and a solid investigative process. Let's dig into each of these. Okay, first up, local experience. Does your potential lawyer really know Arlington and Tarrant County? And look, this is way more than just having a local office. It's about knowing the local court system, understanding the traffic patterns at those major accident hotspots, and having a go-to network of local medical experts and accident reconstructionists. That kind of insider knowledge is a massive advantage. Number 2 is huge, case-specific experience. A car accident is a completely different animal than a collision with a massive commercial truck. I mean, those big rig cases, they involve a whole web of complicated federal regulations, and you could have multiple people to blame. The driver, the trucking company, the people who loaded the cargo, you name it. You need someone who's been down that road before. All right, third, let's talk negotiation. And this slide right here, it lays out the core conflict perfectly. Your goal is to get full and fair compensation for everything you've lost. The insurance company's goal? It's to protect their profits by paying you as little as they possibly can. These two goals are completely at odds, which is why you need a tough, proven negotiator in your corner. And finally, think about specialization. The source material for this explainer really points this out. It suggests looking for firms that are super focused. For example, firms that only handle car and truck accidents. They tend to develop this incredibly deep level of expertise because they see these cases day in and day out. That repetition builds a kind of mastery you just don't get from a general practice firm. And speaking of those insurance companies, that brings us to Section 4, facing the insurance giants. If you're going to win, you have to know their playbook inside and out, because trust me, they use the same tactics over and over again. Okay, tactic number 1, the quick lowball offer. You'll see this almost right away. An adjuster might call you, sound really friendly, and offer you a check. They are just hoping you'll take it before you have any clue how bad your injuries really are or how much treatment you're actually going to need down the line. It is a classic trap designed to make your claim go away for pennies on the dollar. All right, tactic number 2, the recorded statement. The insurance adjuster will call and ask if they can record your conversation.
Again, they'll sound super helpful, but their only job is to get you talking on the record. They are trained to listen for any tiny little thing you say that they can twist and use against you later. So here's the rule, and it's simple. You never, ever give a recorded statement without your lawyer right there with you. And that brings us to tactic number 3, the delay game. Insurance companies know that your medical bills are piling up. They know you're probably out of work and money is tight, so they drag things out. They delay, delay, delay. They're putting the financial screws to you, hoping you'll get so desperate that you'll just accept whatever terrible offer they throw your way. This is a war of attrition, and they're counting on you to give up.
Okay, so you know the law, you've got the checklist, and you know the insurer's playbook. So what's next? Let's move to our final section, making your decision. We're going to cover the last few steps and some major red flags to watch out for. So pretty much any good firm is going to offer you a free consultation, and you need to treat it like a job interview for them. Use this as your checklist. Are they actually listening to you, or are they just doing all the talking? Are they giving you an honest, realistic view of your case, or are they just promising you the world? Do they explain everything, the process, their fees, in a way that you can actually understand? How you feel in that room is a really big deal.
And while you're doing that, let's talk about some huge mistakes you need to avoid. Look, don't fall for the catchy jingle on TV. Don't just pick the lawyer with the lowest fee without knowing what you're actually getting for it. And please do not hire the first person you talk to. Take the time to meet with at least a couple of different lawyers so you have something to compare. But maybe the single biggest mistake you can make is just waiting. This timeline right here shows you exactly why you can't afford to wait. Important evidence, like security camera footage, can be erased in just a few weeks. People who saw what happened, their memories start to fade. And the big one, in Texas, you only have 2 years to file a lawsuit. That clock starts ticking the second that crash happens.
So when it's all said and done, after all the meetings and all the research, it really boils down to this one last question you have to ask yourself. Are you about to hire someone who's just going to shuffle some paperwork and look for a quick, easy settlement? Or are you hiring a real advocate, a real fighter, who is ready and willing to take your case all the way to a courtroom to get you what you deserve? Because the answer to that question, well, that's what makes all the difference in the world.